Welcome back. Since now you understand basics of set analysis, it's time for us to take a deeper dive into Set Modifier, which is one of the most important components of set analysis syntax. So let's get started. So let's begin with the conceptual understanding of Set Modifier. We'll understand what Set Modifier is, and then look at several examples of how Set Modifier can be used within set analysis syntax. So think of Set Modifier as a where clause for those of you who understand SQL, and I'm sure that most of you who have enrolled in this course at least have some understanding of SQL. So to give you a broader understanding of what Set Modifier is, think of Set Modifier as a where clause within your SQL script. Not quite exactly, but for beginners, it's a good way to start visualizing how Set Modifier fits into set analysis syntax. The idea of Set Modifier is to reduce data set for a specific field value or an expression or a search string, and we'll look at various examples as we progress in this chapter. It will allow you to add, change, or remove selections. As you will see, Set Modifier has two sets, one on the left side of the equal sign and one on the right side of the equal sign. And we'll also understand why Set Modifier itself has sets as well. So for now, just understand that Set Modifier is akin to a where clause in your SQL statement, and it allows you to add, remove, or change user selections via a string or a numeric value or an expression. So let's have a 10,000 feet overview of Set Modifier. So imagine you built an application that has all the different species that can swim in an ocean. Now that includes jellyfish, that includes whales, and also includes sharks. That is your entire data set. That's your application. Now, if someone asks you to create a subset within your data set, and that's where set analysis comes into play, and the requirement is to create a subset of species that have fins, then of course whales and sharks qualify for that particular requirement, but jellyfish won't. So using a where clause, so to speak, in your SQL statement, you reduce the data set down to specific values, and that's predominantly what Set Modifier is doing within the set analysis syntax. So let's look at the basic syntax first so that we have good grounding of how set analysis works, and then it will help you understand the syntax for Set Modifier as well, because one of the most intimidating aspects of set analysis syntax is the syntax itself, believe me or not, because it has multiple curly braces and angle brackets and so forth, and a lot of new developers really get confused with such a confusing syntax to begin with. So our aim here is to make it simple enough for you and plausible enough for you to understand the syntax so that you can overcome this anxiety of confusing syntax to begin with, and then start having mastery over your set analysis syntax. So first understand that there are two pairs of curly braces within your set analysis syntax. One's the outer curly brackets, and those are for the record set. Understand that you are creating a record set out of your data set using set analysis syntax. So your record set itself contains pair curly braces. You also have inner curly braces, and those are for your element set. And you may think, what is element set? Well, for now, just imagine element set as a bunch of list boxes you have within your application. So you can think of element set as list of filters that you have within your application. So if you understand that there are two pairs of curly braces, one's for the record set, which is an outer, and the other one's for inner, which is element set, then syntax will make a lot of sense going forward. And of course, this is from Henrik Konstrom, who is writing amazing articles on QlikView Design blog, and I highly recommend that you go and read some of his articles on set analysis. Alright, so let's go over some of the rules for set modifiers. As we have discussed in the prior chapter, set identifier sets the limit or scope for your record set that you're trying to create. Now, modifier appears right after set identifier. It should always be enclosed in angle brackets. So modifier starts with left angle bracket and ends with right angle bracket. You can think of anything within this angle brackets as a subset of your data set, and that is where the where clause comes into play, so that you are actually creating a subset of the data set, which will become a record set using filters within the modifier. And of course, this subset behaves independently of how your user makes selection. That's the whole purpose of creating set analysis, that you want to create subset of your entire data set within the application that is behaving independent of how users make selection within the application. So let's look at some of the examples. In this example, we're calculating cells for one single salesperson, and his name is John Doe. So if you think of set modifier in this entire expression, it's what lies within the angle brackets. On the left of equal sign, you have salesperson, which is the field within your application. And on the right hand side of the equal sign, you have John Doe, which is a string value, but it can be an expression or can be a numeric value. Now, equal sign acts as an assignment operator, so to speak. So you take value of John Doe from the entire data set, and then you assign that to salesperson. But truly, if you want to extend your understanding, think of salesperson as one set, which is on the left-hand side of the equal sign, and John Doe is from your data set, which is the right-hand side of the equal sign. So if you think of what lies on either side of the equal sign as a set, then it will make it a lot easier for you to understand future expressions as we go over multiple examples to show you how set modifier can be used within set analysis syntax. So left-hand side again is salesperson, right-hand side is John Doe as a string value. Keep in mind that QlikView is case sensitive, so you'll have to type exact case as it appears in your data set. So if John Doe appears as what you see in this expression, that's how exactly you have to type the name. If it is in uppercase, then you have to, of course, type the literal value in uppercase. Otherwise, QlikView will not calculate value for this specific string. So what's happening under the hood? Let's recap. We discussed the set identifier sets the boundary of your data set. So when no identifier is defined, QlikView is implicitly using $sign. So that's the first part of set analysis. It starts with curly braces for the record set, and then you have $sign, which is identifier. And then you also understand from previous chapter that you can either have a default state or entire data set. Now, default is $, and default means all user selections are respected. So it is the normal behavior of QlikView application. But when you want to ignore user selections, then you use 1 as your identifier. Now, set modifier, as we discussed, acts as a filter for the subset. So it is like a where clause. As we discussed in the previous example, you can imagine that is a SQL statement akin to select sum of cells where cells versus John Doe. And then aggregation gets performed by the aggregation engine. So again, to recap the basics, set analysis only works on the aggregation function. It cannot work outside of that. You have to use it within the aggregation function, meaning sum, average, and so forth. Now, what about numeric value? As we discussed, not only string, but a numeric value can also be used. You can use numeric value within a single quote or without a single quote. It's preferable to use not any quotes if the value is a numeric value. So how do you write this exact expression in SQL? Of course, you would write selects sum of cells where year equal 2008. What about wildcard search? As we just discussed, that you can put any wildcard search within the set modifier expression. So in this case, it is being enclosed by double quotes. So you have to make sure that when you use a search string within the set modifier expression, it has to be enclosed within double quotes and asterisk act as a wildcard within the expression. So with this expression, sum of cells will be calculated for any product that starts with CEO as first two characters. So it can be confections or condiment. Of course, it is case sensitive like any other expression, so you have to use proper case when you provide the substring within the wildcard search. Now, what will be the output of the following expression? As you see, it has asterisk before CO and after CO. But keep in mind that CO is in lowercase, so if you have value with condiment or confection with C in uppercase, it will not be selected with this expression. But of course, if you have any products that contain CO as a substring within the name of the product, then those products will be included in this aggregation function. So what are the other types of wildcard search? Where, of course, as we discussed, you can use question mark to replace single character, or you can use R or asterisk for wildcard search, and you can also use char. So in next chapter, we'll work on some challenges to apply what we learned in this chapter so that you get hands-on experience with how to use set modifiers within set analysis syntax. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you very much.